How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to my kitchen. And today I don't have a new deck video, but I want to talk a little bit about something that's been bugging me for a bit. Welcome back to A Pinch of Salt, which is a mini-series that I started just for the sake of being salty about things. Last time I went on a huge rant about Dragapult, and this was before Lili's Clefairy, so I have cooled off a little bit on that front. But there is something worse than any meta problem this game has. Dragapult is the least of our problems as long as scalpers have infected this market.
Hey, Trevor!
I joined the hobby around Rebel Clash era, which was shortly after Logan Paul did his video where he ripped some packs and the big craze for Pokemon cards started up again. And I give credit where it's due. The craze around that time is pretty much what got me into it again. Everyone was talking about Pokemon cards, and so when I went out grocery shopping one day and saw some Rebel Clash packs sitting on the shelf, I grabbed a couple. And that's where I entered the hobby. And I haven't missed an Elite Trainer box since then. I have made it a point to make sure I can get my hands on at least 10 packs of every set just to see what I can come up with. I don't necessarily go out of my way to collect a master set, but I do have a big enormous binder that I've organized in Pokedex order to showcase each Pokemon individually, because that's the kind of collector I've always been. Complete the Pokedex. I don't actually care about the value of the cards. I have the base set Gengar that goes for 200, I also had a Magikarp that went for about 200 for a while too. But you know what I did with it? I gave it to Vanilla Magikarp as a gift, because he's my friend. I don't care about the value. I do have that Surging Sparks Pikachu that was about $600 at one point, and, well, to be honest, if push comes shove and rent is due, I'm not above selling that one, to be honest. But barring that, I have no plans to sell any part of my collection. All that is just to say, the first problem I have with scalpers is that they do not care about this hobby. Now, you don't have to have grown up on Pokemon to enjoy the game, right? I've been playing Pokemon since I was a child, and even I know next to nothing about Gen 5 through 7 because I was out on it for several years. My guy Snipe the Bench has never played any of the games and just casually joined the game one day and is now one of the bigger content creators in the space. But he loves the game. I wouldn't gatekeep and say that Pokemon TCG or even collecting TCG cards is for the fans who have grown up with these little creatures. Anyone who wants to should be welcome in this community. But these scalpers have no desire to be part of the community. They want product. They want monetary value. This is a grift for them. They only care about the cards insofar as they can make money off of it. As a personal anecdote, I've been trying to get into a pre-release event since Prismatic Evolutions and ended up on a waitlist all 3 times and have not got into any of them. When I went to that same shop the following weekend, someone told me that he was at the pre-release, and it was full of people who didn't know they need to attach an energy in order to attack, or didn't know that they need to play a basic before evolving it. These are basic concepts of Pokemon TCG that anyone within their first hour of learning the game should know. And they were not open to or receptive to learning the game. They were just there for the packs. So now you've got players, enjoyers of the game, being denied entry to an event because people who don't give two shits about the hobby end up taking the spots and ruining the event. Not only for the people who didn't get in, but also for the players who just want to have a good time. That's absolute insanity to me. We should have some sort of test you have to pass in order to qualify. These events are for players. There should never be a situation where people can just intrude on the hobby and take away from the people actively participating in it. And this can all really be traced back to Prismatic Evolutions. I feel like Pokemon intended to make this set for the players because look at the whole set list at a glance here. There really aren't that many new cards here. A lot of these are reprints. Hydrapple, Teal Mask Ogerpon, Iron Hands, Iron Thorns, Dusknoir, Monkey Dory. To an extent, a lot of these cards have been out already. And reprinting the most playable cards helps to lower their prices and ensure it gets in more hands of players. But scroll a little bit further down and you start to see some more gorgeous artwork. And this set is beautiful. And a lot of these are reprints with new artwork. And this is where the problem comes in. Because look at the prices on some of these. Flareon, $270. Sylveon, $430. Umbreon, close to $1,300. But at the same time, this is a set based entirely around Eevee, which is arguably a top 5 most popular Pokemon of all time. Last time a set came out with a bunch of Eevees, we got this. Moonbreon, an Umbreon VMAX card which still to this day goes for about $1,200. So it's not even like this is the first time this happened. They knew already what an Eevee set does to the market. So who is this set for, really? The collectors or the players? Because this set has something for both. But when the scalpers buy up all the product, the players suffer the most. We still do have resources like TCG Player where you can order singles online, but those prices are also ultimately affected by how rare the set is. Take Budu for example. Right now it's a market price of 78 cents, which is not too bad, but it's also a common card. When Prismatic Evolutions first came out, this card went for nearly $1.50 a piece. Again, for a common card. Now you might be like, but you're complaining about $1.50, just tell me you're a broke boy and get on with it. I'm a broke boy. But that's also being really disingenuous. Pokemon TCG is a game that should be accessible to kids. Yeah, it's mostly dominated by adults, but the marketing has always been towards, if not at the very least, accessible to kids. So if a kid can't go in and get the cards they want from booster packs, they now have to go online to get them, which is already a lot more difficult and assumes parents even support the hobby in a capacity where they're willing to buy singles for the kids versus just a booster pack. But then, let's just go with something like Flareon EX, right? Let's just say we want to build this deck list at launch, which was on January 17th. We already mentioned Budu was $1.50, Jolteon was just over $9, Flareon EX was $10.24 at launch, and this one plays 3 of them. Eevee EX was also $10.23, and there's 2 of those. This Eevee was only 13 cents, so at least that's not so bad. And everything else in here was already available previously, so I won't really bother with those, right? But these all cost money too. We're just not worrying about those right now. We're already looking at about $60 for 8 cards. Normally spending $60 on a deck is already considered a decently expensive one already, and we're not even talking about the remaining 52 cards. $60 for someone who has a full-time job is chump change, sure. But for a kid still in school, I would hate to think that they are being priced out of a hobby that was meant for them. These are the people I worry about the most. I know this hobby was never supposed to be cheap, but this is a little ridiculous for a set that only includes the most common rarities. And that's to say nothing of some of the videos I've seen. Some of the scalper behavior we've been seeing is just downright embarrassing. Embarrassing even as a fan of the hobby, because these people are not part of the hobby, and this is what the general public is getting to see. Penguin Zero did a video pretty recently about it, and I feel like if it's gotten that mainstream, what else can I feel but embarrassment? Because of comments like, all this for pieces of cardboard? Or imagine being a grown adult and acting like this for a children's card game. And they're right. That is embarrassing behavior. But again, it's so important to note, these people are not interested in Pokemon. These people are not part of the Pokemon TCG hobby. They just like money in whatever form that takes. It used to be NVIDIA graphics cards, now it's Pokemon, and they will move on to the next thing once that becomes more profitable. But they are representing us right now. People who couldn't care less about Pokemon are seeing this, and they think we're like that. And that's embarrassing. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. The prices are starting to come back down. Maybe not for Prismatic Evolutions, which is still double MSRP, but Journey Together was also one that got all bought up, and the value of that has dropped back down. Not quite to MSRP levels, but pretty close to it. For reference, an Elite Trainer box normally goes for about $50. So it's still marked up, but it's starting to normalize a little bit. And the scalpers hate that. We're starting to see videos of people who bought 30 or 40 boxes worth of product and are now unable to resell it.
These things right here, nobody wants them. Nobody wants Pokemon cards anymore. I'm the scalper that scalped too hard and got caught up with too much inventory on this Journey Together's box right here. And I have like about 20 more on the way, but it's not a good look.
And they're now stuck with 30 or 40 ETBs that they now have to sell for maybe a $10 profit. It is so mega satisfying to watch the scalper rage, and I'm really hoping this means we can get our hobby back soon. But I don't know, Pokemon's been pushing it with some of these Destined Rivals products. That Rocket briefcase, I am not expecting to ever get my hands on one of these for less than $600. And I feel that about a lot of things that are coming. The Black Bolt and White Flare set has a new rarity for this Reshiram and Zekrom card, and I'm already predicting that this set will be just as impossible to get because of these two. It's essentially a Gen 5 version of the 151 set, which is still to this day very difficult to find at a decent price. As much as I hate to say this, the solution is right in front of us. I think Pokemon needs to stop printing SIRs, or at the very least make player-specific sets that don't have any SIRs to give the game back to the players. I do love me some beautiful artwork. I would have an SIR for every single Pokemon in my Pokedex if I could. But I would trade it all so that this game stays about the players. I would be okay with never pulling another high-value card if it means that all the players still get to enjoy their hobby as intended. I am both a collector and a player, but scalpers have infected our space and are doing their best to ruin it for everyone. So the ball is in Pokemon Company's court. I hope they do take more action soon to make sure this doesn't happen again. Or maybe they love it. Any press is good press, am I right? That's all I got for today. Thank you for letting me be salty. I will be back really soon with a new deck list. If you enjoyed the content, please drop me a sub. I am so close to 1,000 subs, and that would go a long way to help me achieve my goals of being able to afford to go to events and make a Worlds push. Oh, did I mention I'm making a Worlds push? I just joined Ginge TCG's Draw Pass team, and I will now be making a Worlds push next year with them. I am so excited and I can't wait to get into that. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to put a down payment on a booster pack. I'll see you all next time.